Hello, ladies and gentlemen. That didn't come out right. I'm going to let Ollie do a lot of the speaking tonight, to be honest, because I've had a bit of a cold for the last few days. Exhibit A, it's just happened. It's great to be here, absolutely buzzing for our final predictions of the season. Also, a little bit teary as well because I don't want this to end. I've really, really enjoyed it. How about you, Ollie?
Yeah, it's been fantastic, hasn't it? Very much enjoyed doing these predictions, getting to go through the league the way that we have done as well. So, yeah, bittersweet today because very much looking forward to this, but don't want it to be the last one. And who knows, Nick? Maybe it won't be. You know, there's maybe more games to play. Who knows what happens after
Well,
the
it's
end of
certainly
the
not the
regular
last
season.
one. It's not the last one because we're going to be doing a predictions final roundup, I guess, because after this one, we have to look who's won the title. Well, viewers have won the title, let's be honest. But we need to see who's finished second and third out of us. So I'm going to pop it up on screen right now and have a look. Ollie, look at the screen. Look at the screen. Don't look away. Look at it. Read it and weep.
Yeah, I don't want to look at it. It's been a bottle of epic proportions. It is genuinely, I had this in the bag, all stitched up. I was fine. I was happy. I was making jokes about it. I was telling you that you needed to try and get some ringers in to come and play for you who could do better. It's just, yeah, it's all gone wrong at exactly the wrong time. And I'm feeling very Wednesday, if I'm being honest. It's just not quite happened for me this time. Not good.
I said to you, would you rather be called Wednesday or Arsenal? And you said you'd like to be called Wednesday. So, yeah, I don't know why you said that, but.
Because, Nick, it's funnier to take the mick out of Wednesday.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Let's clear something up before we get into it. Who is late then? Sorry, Scott. It was me. I was actually a few minutes early, but I am using a wired connection for my mouse and a wired connection for this, my keyboard. So it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong yet again. There's wires galore. I don't know whether I'm coming or going, but yeah, we move. I could have just said, nope, not doing it, Ollie. I'm not doing it with wires everywhere. But I think of you, the audience, more than myself.
Yeah, because you've made such a massive sacrifice, Nick, of using a wired mouse. God, we're all thinking of you.
At this tough time. Oh dear. Yeah, so there's wires galore. Before we get into it though, there is also something that we need to talk about in regards to next season, whether we're going to be doing this or not, which we won't be talking about right now. We'll be talking about in the next one. So make sure you tune into that one. I'm not sure when it's going to be actually. So shall we decide right now? When are we going to do this this next video?
Yes, we should decide right now. Obviously, our regular slot has been Thursdays, but we can't. I don't believe we can do that this time around due to other commitments. We need something next week. When are you free, Nick? When are you free?
Early next week. Should we do early next week? We probably shouldn't decide it right now on the stream.
No, because I've not got my diary in front of me. I didn't expect you to ask that we could make a decision right
I think
now.
we could,
I'll be honest with
you. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday next week, possibly, I reckon. But there's also the playoffs as well. So maybe me and Ollie need to have a chat off air and discuss if we're going to do that. Let's be honest, I'm definitely going to win it. So it's whether I decide to do a playoff because at the end of the day, I will have beaten Ollie.
I think, Nick, I'm going to throw it out there. I think we do playoffs. We do one show before the playoffs where we do predictions for each semi-final, who's going through, the final, and who's going to win it. And we offer big points for winner of each semi-final and the winner of the final. And I think we put it all on the line because that's why we come here, Nick. That's why we come to play the game.
Exactly. And play the game we are going to do. Now, first game, Ollie. Sheffield United away at Birmingham City. So go for it.
I will indeed, but I will just shout out as well. I forgot last week and didn't do the viewers' scores. And I know a few people in the comments came for me. They said, Ollie, why have you not done it? The answer was that we videoed on Thursday United got promoted on Wednesday, and I do all of the prep work Thursday morning. And I was not in the position where I could be doing that prep work on Thursday morning, and that's why it went by the wayside. So I do apologize to everyone. But this week, we had some fantastic scores from our viewers consistently across the piece. I think last weekend was the best weekend the viewers have had. Every single person was getting 7s, 8s, 9s. Just brilliant across the board. But we didn't see our top score overall. Our top scorers this time out were Pete Day and Keith Whitaker with 10, Shazbat with 12, and one of our originals with us from week 1, always playing, always in our comments, Manish Thapar. Fantastic, 14 points, and a great way for him to sign off with us as well. Of course, there is still 1 week left for somebody to go at the King. Can't remember who it was that got 18 points, but it's a hell of a score to beat that.
Yeah, me, you mean? Me being the king?
No, you're not the king. Not my king.
Oh, yeah, saw that. How many points did you get last week, Prince Ollie?
Well, how do we measure points, Nick? That's the question.
You measure them by seeing how many you get right.
Yeah, and I know, and it weren't proud. Did I get 4? Yeah.
You got 4 points. I'm trying to work out how many I got. I think I got 11. So, as you've done all the way through this, just sneaking these 3-pointers, that's what I did this week to get so far ahead of you. So, as you've already seen already, but I'll pop it up on screen again. I am now 8 points in front of you, Ollie. 8 points. So, you've got to get those sneaky 3-pointers in the last one, or it all could be curtains. I think we should do the league next week. So, whoever wins the league next week, and then after that, it's called a playoff for Champion of Champions. I'm making it all up as I go along. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's talk about Birmingham and the Blades going to Birmingham. So there you go, Ollie. Go for it.
You're a braver man than me going for the accents. You did Sunderland last week and you were called out. You've done Sunderland a few times now. You've gone for Birmingham this week. I like it, but I'm not doing it myself. I think this is an interesting game because United had an unbelievable run to get promoted. Like, just take a moment to appreciate that. Was, I think, after we lost to Luton, we won 7 out of 8 to push us over that line and really get us the points we needed to put everybody else in the dust and get us into the Premier League. But then, of course, after some fantastic celebrations at Bramall Lane, we then went and lost at Huddersfield mid-week. And I think that's a real shame because it robbed us of an absolute classic that we could have had in a relegation playoff between Reading and Huddersfield. But for United, I thought first half was a decent performance. Second half was pretty poor. If we play to the same standards, United could have had the game won by half-time. I think United will play to the same standards. I think we will have this game won by half-time. And while Birmingham might come back at his second half, just don't see it really making a difference. I think we're good enough to win this game, sign off in style. Birmingham as well have just been on the beach for weeks. They've only won 1 of the last 6. It doesn't matter at all for them. They've got what they wanted this season, but I just don't think they're going to turn up last game of the season and try and change that.
Yeah, but at the same time, mate, we're dreadful. We were dreadful against Huddersfield. I did the match reaction, and it's one of them where I didn't want to be negative, but at the same time, that second 45 was awful. Yeah, but I do think that we're going to bounce back, and that's why I've gone for a 3-2. Next up, we've got Burnley versus Cardiff City. I've gone for a 3-1. You've gone for a big old 4-0. I think if we're talking 2 months ago, Burnley would have been nailed on for a 4-0, but they've been a little bit on the beach as well, like us, haven't they?
They have, and they've had some poor results, I think. Since they've been confirmed as being promoted, their form hasn't been what it was. But, you know, one of the reasons for that is probably they wanted to win the title at Ewood Park, so they had to drop some points so they could have a real celebration on their big rivals' turf. I think they're going to want to sign off a special season in style. And let's take a minute, Nick, to be fair, to just explain. These are the best team that have played in the Championship in 5 years, 7 years, since whenever that Newcastle team came down and Newcastle absolutely smashed it. Burnley are at that level, looking as one of the best teams we've seen in the Championship. So a win here would take them to, I think, 101 points, which is just incredible start to finish. And I'd really quite like them to do it because, we finished Sheffield United second to the Reading team that broke the points record 106. If we now finish second to a Burnley team that get 101, I think it's fair enough to say that, generally speaking, when we've been the second best team in this league, we've been bloody good. Cardiff, though, dragged themselves to safety, obviously very much aided by Reading's points deduction. Otherwise, they would be in big trouble going into the final day. But they'll see this as job done. They're going to want to put it in the past and move on because I don't think they wanted a relegation fight this year, and I don't think they're going to enjoy the last game of the season.
No, I completely agree. Wayne just put his score in there, 5-0 Burnley banker. There's also a 2-1 from Tyler, but I also want to bring up one of Wayne's earlier comments. Nick sounds wrong. Don't really quite understand that. I normally am wrong when I talk, but sounds wrong. Not sure whether he just means I've got a call, which I have. But let's move on from me sounding wrong. And hopefully I don't get this wrong, this scoreline wrong. I've gone for a 2-2 in this game. I feel like there's nothing to play for here. However, Reading will want to sign off with something. And I think Huddersfield will maybe have been on the bevies. So that's why I've gone for a 2-2. I don't see Huddersfield losing this game. No. But I don't see him smashing Reading 3-0 either.
Yeah, I alluded to it before, but this could have been incredible. Imagine how good this would have been if we just
would have been incredible.
This would have been utterly incredible. Everybody in the league would have been watching this on Sky final game because this would have looked fantastic to see these two go at it. Loser gets relegated. That would have just been so much fun. But of course, Warnock and Huddersfield had to go and spoil the fun by beating us in midweek. They made you have to say we were rubbish on the match reaction.
The thing is, Reading would have had to have gone for it, all guns blazing. Being the away team is even better because they'd have, even if they'd gone 1-0 down, they still had to go for it. And this would have been so good. And like you say, we have been robbed of that. Sheffield United have robbed the whole league of that. And I don't particularly think Huddersfield were good against us. My Brummie accent. Nick sounds wrong. It still doesn't sound the right way to word it, but I'm fine with that.
Sound wrong. I agree with him. You sounded wrong. I didn't like it. None of us liked it. Don't do it again.
No, exactly. I can't say Wayne sounds wrong here. Nil. It can't be a nil. This game cannot be a 0-0. If it's a 0-0, I will give Ollie all my points. No,
I'll take that on. I'll take that deal on.
That back. Next up, Luton Town versus Hull City. I've gone for a boring Luton 1-0 win, but Hull City do have a tendency to hold very, very good teams to draws.
They do, but Luton have the run they've had to the end of the season has been incredible. They've only lost one of their last 16, so they're absolutely rolling into the playoffs, keeping some really good form going. They're going to finish third in the championship. Like, for Luton, that achievement is insane. They get better year on year on year. So if they don't manage to make it this season, then the only way they can get better is with automatic promotion next season. And I wouldn't rule them out because they're just so well run. It's insane how much they've managed to manage the way that they take it forward. Whereas Hull, you said that they draw all the time. That's what's killed them this season. I don't agree with Nick.
I don't know what he's agreeing to me about, to be fair. I'm probably wrong. I normally am.
Never agree with Nick.
No,
I mean, he's beat me, so maybe I need to be a bit more, understanding. Maybe I need to give him some credit, but I won't. Never agree with Nick. But like you say, draws killed Hull. I think the end of the season, they've drawn 5 of their last 8 and they're 10 points outside the playoffs. So you start to look at that and you can see exactly where those 10 points are. You can see where they've left them on the table. They're going to need a good summer as well because they, I think, want to go at it next year. And so be interested to see what they do.
Yeah, what you were just talking about with Luton and automatics next season, I think next season, one of the things I was thinking when we were kind of neck and neck with Middlesbrough was the fact that next season's championship is going to be one of the hardest to get out of for a very long time. So you know that Norwich and Watford have got to be in and around it, surely.
I think so.
Well, you would think so. Then you've got Southampton, big club. They will more than definitely be down and be down there next season. You've also then got possible Forest, possible Everton, possible Leicester, possible Leeds. These are all massive clubs. There's not one there that isn't a big club. So next season is going to be a very, very exciting championship. So I'm very, very glad that we're not going to be playing it next season because it's going to be hard. And Luton Town, I would love to see him go up this year because next season is going to be really, really difficult for him. And like you said, every year I say Luton can't go as good as what they did the season before. And they have done every year and they deserve it. So I hope they go up because I think Middlesbrough's got more of a chance of going up next season than Luton have. So I think that I hope that Luton get up this season because they've been fantastic and deserve it. Anyway, let's talk about Borough now. And Borough, I've gone for a 3-1. You've gone for a 2-1. I was just thinking I could have just done the exact same scoreline on every single one of these and won it. But I'm 8 points clear, so I needed to give you a little bit of a chance.
Yes, you did. Because that's the way we play the game, Nick. It's only fair. But, this is an interesting game because Coventry need 1 point. They're sat 5th, 3 points above 7th to make sure to just guarantee themselves their place in the playoffs. They need 1 point going away to Borough. But Borough have really stumbled, I think, since automatic promotion has been written off for them. They've just not really been able to go again and to keep their form going. I think they're going to really want to sign off with a big win because it's really hard to just switch it on. We talked about Luton coming into the playoffs with momentum, coming into the playoffs on fantastic form. Borough aren't doing that. They're stumbling towards the end of the season. And so they really need to get some feel-good factor going, get themselves up. And I think Coventry are going to be very nervously looking at other results to see whether or not they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a terrible, terrible game for Coventry to need something from. Not necessarily need something from, but want something from to guarantee being in the playoffs. But at the same time, like you say, Middlesbrough stumbled a little bit, but they've been playing like half a team and they've been playing different players. And it's like you need to go in there all guns blazing into playoffs, and you don't want to be stumbling in there. Like they were only a few points behind us, and now they're 14? Still 14
like that
behind. Yeah, still 14 points behind. So that just shows how much they've dropped off. So I'm not really bothered. I don't want Middlesbrough. I don't want Middlesbrough to go up. I just don't. I want Luton. So hopefully it's going to be Luton. I agree with Ollie this time. Paul's agreeing with me, and now he's agreeing with you. Bloody Paul. I thought
he's a nice guy, Paul. Always liked him.
Yeah, he is a nice guy. He's a fantastic guy. Johnny's going for a 2-1 Coventry. Okay, fair enough.
I'm not ruling that out, I'm not ruling that out.
No, definitely not. Middlesbrough, funny one. Sometimes they absolutely hammer teams and sometimes they struggle. So it could be one of those struggling games. Anyway, let's move on to talking about Millwall Football Club versus Blackburn Rovers Football Club. And this is another really, really tough one. Two teams that are gunning for the playoffs, you've got to say. And Millwall really, really need this win, don't they?
It's exactly the same scenario. If Millwall win, they are guaranteed their spot in the playoffs. If they don't win, then they're sat nervously waiting around. I think a point puts them level with Coventry, but they've got worse goal difference. And so again, there's all these different things coming into play here. I think Coventry will be delighted with my prediction of a 1-1 because I think this very much goes their way and means that takes two teams out of the equation who will be looking to overtake them. Blackburn have got to win. But they've not just got to win. They've got to win and hope so many things go their way because ultimately, both of these teams' end of season form has come just at the wrong time. They've stumbled and stumbled and stumbled, and somehow they're still really in with a chance of making the playoffs. But I actually think both of these teams are going to miss out. I don't think either of them are going to make it. I know.
Who are you thinking that's going to make it then?
We'll come to that.
Okay, sorry.
We'll come to that though, Nick.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on then. Oh, you're not telling us now? You're going to tell us later?
I'll tell you now. I'm going to tell you later. We will come to it later on in the show. I've got to build a little bit of tension. We've got more scores to predict.
Oh, I've never heard Ollie shout at me before. I love it. I really enjoyed it.
Sassy. Now that I'm losing, I've got really sassy. I don't like losing, and I'm taking it out on you.
Sorry, mate. That's fair point. Norwich City. So you're thinking Norwich are going to get into the playoffs? Then I'm assuming because Norwich they're 100% in and around it, aren't they?
No, I don't think they are, Nick.
I don't think they're anywhere. I think they're closer
think they're
to
anywhere near.
relegation than they are to the
Yeah,
playoff.
I don't think Norwich are going to make it. I think this will be a nice win, but I just think they'll miss out based on the fact that they can't get 6 points for winning this game.
No, Norwich
Real
have
shame.
been awful. Been awful.
Yeah, they've had
for
a
a
terrible
while.
season. Coming back down, they're 12th in the championship after relegation. This is a team who have absolutely prided themselves on how well they bounce back from relegation. They get better. They've built their entire club around relegation, consolidation, fighting back, immediate promotion, and they've just completely made a mess of it this time around. And you've said that they'll be there or thereabouts next season. I actually don't know. I think they've got some work to do. What a man. Love you, Paul. But for me, the big thing here, this is Teemu Pukki's last game for Norwich, last game at Carrow Road. And I think he'll sign off the way that he has done every single time he's been there. I think he'll get a couple of goals. He'll ride off into the sunset with a really nice victory and with them all chanting his name. Do want to reflect on Blackpool, them and Reading both relegated. We've talked about Reading already, but last game of the season, they'll want to really remind fans that they've got a chance at promotion next season because we've talked about the Championship being hard. I think League One's going to be really, really tough next year. I think Reading are in a mess. I'm not sure they're going to be able to bounce back immediately with all the finances and everything else going on. I actually think Blackpool are probably the team best prepped to be able to have a go at promotion from League One, but I do think it's going to be a struggle and they really need to do some work through the summer.
Yeah, because Wigan are in disarray as well, aren't they?
Wigan are in a right mess. Yeah, obviously another team that we will come to later on, but I worry about them leaving League One the wrong way rather than the right way.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Johnny's going on about McAtee going to Burnley. Not even finished the season.
I hope he does go Burnley though.
I can't imagine that happen. If he's going to anyone, he'll be coming to us, I'm sure, unless we go for Doyle, because you can only sign one player from one team. Yeah. I can't imagine that's a thing.
I suppose interesting as well, because obviously we're talking about whether or not you can only get one loan player, so we'll be looking at Doyle or McAtee, or maybe we'll look for one on permanent. But I think it'll be a similar issue for Burnley as well. Looking at their squad, obviously they've got the keeper, they've got Harwood Bellis, they've got decisions to make. So I think before they're in for McAtee, they'll probably look at that squad building and whether they're keeping any of the others. But I can understand it with Kompany in charge. You can see why those links might be there, and if they've got money to splash, they might have a go at it. You disagree?
Buying, you reckon?
Buying. No, I don't think they'll buy him, but they might buy one of the other two, and therefore they can bring him in as their loan, whereas we might focus in other areas.
No. We don't want that. We don't want another Gibbs White one, really, do we?
True.
We'll not talk about Gibbs White because I got absolutely hammered on Twitter earlier for an edgy tweet. I thought I agreed with it. I thought I don't like players kissing the badge, but at the same time, a lot of people disagree with me. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Preston North End versus Sunderland AFC. We've both gone for a Sunderland win. Sunderland, this is the team that you're saying are going to be in the playoffs.
This is the team that I'm saying are going to be in the playoffs.
I didn't really think Norwich.
Yeah, I think Sunderland are going to win this game, and I think they're going to nick that last playoff spot from Millwall. Preston were nearly the ones I was going for. A few weeks ago, I think I said I backed Preston because I think they'll do it because they had a fantastic run of form. But they're another team who just when the pressure came on, when they really needed to make it happen, just fell apart a little bit. No winning 4 now, might be no winning 5 to end the season. Whereas for Sunderland, that's really exciting. I think if my predictions go how I've stated, the games go with my predictions, Sunderland versus Borough playoff semi-final. Now, that is fun. I think that'd be a really good game. Sunderland have beat Borough a couple of times already this season, and Sunderland won the playoffs from League One last year, getting that monkey off their back. So I think Sunderland, if they can make the playoffs, will be in a great position to really push what is the established narrative that it'll be Luton against Borough in the final.
Yeah, I don't actually want it to be Luton against Borough because everybody's saying that's what it's going to be. And very rarely does that happen. And everyone's like, this is going to happen. Quite a lot of the time it doesn't, and I'd love to see where it all falls down. And this could be it, like you said, Sunderland against Borough. That is going to be incredible because of obviously geographically where they're situated as well. Because they both play really good attacking football, and that's those are going to be 2 incredible nights. Or days and nights, if you like. I'm hoping for that, and I can't wait for it. One team that I'm a little bit devastated that they've actually stayed up is QPR. They managed to to get their act together after a bit because they looked doomed at one point. They were terrible. And Gareth Ainsworth looked like he'd made a right mess of this job. However, they've managed to pull themselves together. Do you see QPR being any better next season?
No, I've been thinking about this, and this is one of the things I've been wanting to reflect on, because are they set up as a club to be able to avoid a relegation battle next year? Now, I think they built really well, really sustainably. They've gone through a run of managers where they were trying to take it forward. They'd gone, for example, I think it was Warburton, Critchley. They were really trying to build in a sensible way. And then they threw it all out the window to bring Ainsworth in. So they've got to rebuild their club to play the Ainsworth style. They've not got any money. So I did a video the other day with Loft for Words, one of their podcasters, and he was saying the way that they finance the club effectively, because they've always been in financial issues since relegation from the Premier League, is that they sell one big player and that funds them for 3 or 4 years to keep them within the FFP cap. They've not really got a big player to sell this year. They might have to lose Dieng, they might lose Chair, but how much money is somebody paying for Chair? Willock's only got 12 months left on his contract. There's not exactly an Eberechi Eze there that they're going to get £30 million for. So I don't know how they're going to improve. Now, Ainsworth, unfortunately, has got a track record of improving on a budget. He can bring in to play his style and see how that works. And I think they're going to really enjoy their party to celebrate the fact that they've stayed up, because they did look doomed, like you say. But long term, I'm worried about QPR. From a team that I quite liked and thought were exciting and played good football, I'm worried for what they might become the longer they keep Ainsworth in charge.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. Also, Huddersfield are very, very excited about staying up. Warnock won't be there next season. They've got to bring in a new manager. They've been rubbish for the majority of the season. Warnock's managed to galvanise them a little bit. They've still not got a great squad. I'm a little bit worried for Huddersfield again, to be honest, because Warnock's not going to be coming back in every season to save them.
No, he won't. And I tell you what else, them teams coming up from League One might be good. Like, you're talking teams getting 100 points coming up from League One. Ipswich are an incredible side, and them coming up, they're not going to be in a relegation battle.
Their goal difference is mental as well, Ipswich.
Well, I think something like their last 14 games, I think they've scored 48, conceded 2.
How are they not top of the league? Do you know what, though? It doesn't matter who wins that division out of those two, because those two teams, I think they can both get 100 points, can't they? Or over 100 points.
Yeah, I think they'll be 101 and 100 if they both win their last game, which is insane.
I'd love that. I don't remember when we've seen that in the EFL, two clubs.
I've never seen it.
I might have to do a bit of research on that.
Not even just that, though. And of course, I like poking fun at Wednesday as much as the next guy. I've quite enjoyed their bottling narrative. They're going to get 96 points and finish 3rd.
Yeah,
that is insane.
And they have bottled it. Because they were riding off into the sunset months ago. But at the same time, if they didn't bottle it, mate, how many points would they have got if they didn't bottle it?
Well, I mean, how many do you have to have got? That's the thing. Like, the idea that in order to get promoted, you have to get 101.
Let me just say, right, if Wednesday didn't bottle it and the other two clubs carried on, there could have been 3 teams on over 100 points. And one team getting 100 points and not going up.
It's madness. So the teams coming out of League One are going to be really good. So these teams down at the bottom of the Championship, QPR, Huddersfield, Cardiff, they've got a lot of work on to not be in exactly this position next year, and potentially all of them in a real relegation battle. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on. Let's talk about Watford versus Stoke City. Now, I've got absolutely no expectation that Watford are going to win this game. However, I just feel like Chris Wilder's going to sign off with a win. I just do. And Stoke have been so up and down. So it's so frustrating, because I thought Stoke had really found some form. They were banging goals in left, right, and centre. And then they've just been so inconsistent. I've got nothing against Stoke. I don't love them. I don't hate them. But I enjoyed seeing them score loads of goals. And then when it all dried up, I was like, no, I just wanted to see one team come from nowhere. Obviously, Middlesbrough did it a lot earlier. But Stoke City came from absolutely nowhere because nobody were talking about them. and then suddenly they just fell away again. It's gutting.
Yeah, it's a shame for them because I think they were starting to look really well set for next season. Like I had that feeling of, oh, maybe they'll be all right. But again, they've done what Stoke do ever since they've been in the Championship and just completely nosedived off a cliff. So it's a shame. But for me, I've got no thoughts at all on this game. Just end of the season. Nobody actually cares. I'm fairly confident even the fans in the crowd won't care. And everybody's going to throw out Nick.
Watford.
Watford, innit? So I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I don't think either team really care. I think the fans are both going to try and write off another season and say, nope, don't want to talk about that one. What does the future look like for Wilder? I don't actually know. I don't know where his next job comes because obviously really struggled at Borough, struggled again now at Watford. Oh, Paul, I thought we were friends.
Paul is like a yo-yo. He's back and forth. He's up and down. Paul, I think he's probably agreed. Well, at least he's agreeing with one of us. He hasn't yet said, I don't agree with either of you. You're both idiots. He hasn't said that, so that's a good thing.
And that's probably the truth, though, unfortunately. So it means that our predictions being wrong, him agreeing with us as being wrong. Somebody needs to call us idiots because we're definitely not getting these right.
Wow, and 2018 Stoke haven't had a top half finish. That's bad, that, especially coming down.
So I was reading the other day, the first season they came down in 2018, they posted the highest loss in the history of the Championship. No team has ever lost more money in one season than Stoke did their first year back in the Championship.
Well, that just proved that's the reason why they've really struggled to kind of get back up there. Wow, that's incredible. That really is
insane. They've never even turned it around. What have they spent the money on?
Exactly, but they've gone from a club in Europe, and I know a lot of teams do this. They get into Europe. They were in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're starting to doubt me now. No, I'm starting to doubt.
I'm not starting to doubt you. I've been very open from the second they left those words left your mouth. I was very clear that I doubted you.
Right. I'm looking. Europa League, Stoke City, Europa League. It came up when I went to Google it, so it's got to be right, surely. 2011, 2012, Stoke City. Where is it? I'm nervous now. I'm really nervous.
I'm nervous for you, Nick. I'm gonna be honest, especially doing it live.
Stoke qualified for the Europa League.
Hey,
fantastic. I wonder why that was. I'm trying to work out now because it says
did they get to FA Cup final?
No, quarterfinal. It said that they finished 14th in the Premier League. How have they managed this?
I think they got to the FA Cup final.
Oh, FA Cup runners-up. Oh, League Cup.
Back in the day. Yeah.
It says quarterfinals of the FA Cup.
Have you looked
and
at
then
the
it
year
says
before?
Here, FA Cup runners-up. Anyway, they got there. I was right. I didn't even need to. If I'd have just said, I'm right, shut up, Ole, then we would have been fine.
It was the year Yaya scored the winner. They lost 1-0 to City in final, I think. And that'll be what got them in.
Yeah, it must have
I do
been.
remember it now. I think it was Man City's first FA Cup.
Oh, I could be wrong. I remember it now.
Oh,
yeah, of course you do.
It come back to me, mate.
I wish it had come back to you a few seconds earlier so that we wouldn't have wasted.
I wanted to put you under pressure on stream. Put you under pressure.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Wigan versus Rotherham United. And I thought this was going to be maybe a battle to see who's going to stay in the league.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no battle whatsoever. Wigan were gone a couple of weeks ago, and Rotherham have been just grinding out good results most weeks. But I will say that every time I say Rotherham are going to win, they lose. And every time I say they're going to lose, they pull out some fantastic results. So do you have to, Rotherham? Do you have to?
Yeah, they do it deliberately to make sure you don't get too far ahead. I think seems to have been the aim from Rotherham. It's an interesting one, this, because there's two sides to the coin. Obviously, Rotherham, first of all, incredible season. The job that Matty Taylor has done since he's come in following Paul Warne is really underrated, I think, because, Rotherham were doing well under Warne. They were fairly high in the table. But
can I just say that Paul Warne struggled to keep... Did he get relegated twice with Rotherham?
Yeah, never kept them up.
Never kept them. Paul Warne, how great, how much Rotherham fans loved Paul Warne. He never kept them up in the Championship. Straight away, comes in, new manager comes in, keeps them up. Legend. Like you say, so underrated. Sorry, Ollie, carry on.
That's fine. No, it's just a fantastic job. But the other side of it, obviously, is Wigan. We touched on it before. What a mess they're in. So more players unpaid this weekend. They had to give them a day off from training because they said, we've not paid you, so we can't expect you to come in. Potentially, that means another points deduction for them at the start of next season. And so it just gets worse and worse for their story. You know, they got relegated, I think it was 4 years ago now, because their owners messed them around and they ended up bankrupt in skin and in administration. New owners have come in and they've got relegated from the Championship for the exact same reason, where they've really just messed it around. So feel really sorry for them. So do I expect them to win this game 2-1? No, I don't think I do. But I'd really like them to sign off this season with something, with a win. Just don't finish bottom of the league. Get something out of it. Because I think their fans deserve that, because it must be horrible. Absolutely horrible what they've had to go through.
Yeah, absolutely agree, mate. Absolutely agree. There's a lot of teams that have suffered at the hands of bad owners in the last few years. Too many points deductions in the last few years, especially in the Championship. There's just been too many. Too many teams going down without really being given a chance. Reading, obviously, if it wasn't for the points deduction, would have stayed up. It's not Reading. It's not. That's not the main reason why they got relegated, though, because Reading were flying high earlier in the season, and they've just fallen off a cliff massively. I think they've won like one game in about 1,000.
Yeah, they were 12th at the World Cup. That's when we went off to the World Cup break. They were 12th. I think they got 29 points from 20 games, something like that. So they were doing pretty well. I think after 6 games of the season, they were top of the league because they came to Bramall Lane, didn't they, as top of the league? And so for them to have fallen where they have, it really is a shame. But obviously, you know, they kept Paul Ince potentially a couple of games too long and then didn't leave themselves enough time to turn it around. But they don't get relegated without the 6 points. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they had him last season as well, didn't they? So probably more like 56 games too long. But it's an interesting one because they don't get relegated without the points deduction, or at least without the points deduction. I think we've got 4 teams on 50 points and Cardiff on 49 going into the last game of the season. Like, imagine the carnage that could have been. But we were robbed of that. Now, Nick, I see you've taken all the scores off the screen, but any eagle-eyed viewers out there will have pointed out that we have missed a game.
Oh.
We've missed Swansea against West Bromwich Albion.
Okay. Let me remedy that, mate. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. There is a reason behind this, isn't there, Ollie? But we won't let him in behind the curtain.
But there's an issue, and we apparently hadn't solved it just in time. But we are there, and it's not a problem. I think it's an interesting one, though, this game. West Brom, the final piece of the playoff puzzle. You know, I've already said that I think it'll be Sunderland and Coventry, but West Brom aren't far off. They're another one of these teams who, with a win, if Millwall and Coventry both don't win, they stand a chance of taking that final spot. But I don't think they're going to be the ones that do it because of the form of Swansea. You know, 6 wins in their last 8. They've got 2 draws. They will want a much better end to next season. They'll think that next season they should be really in that playoff push. Whereas West Brom will just look at this with regret. That start to the season that they had before they got Colbrand in just completely hamstrung them. And even when they've put fantastic runs together, they never really overcame such a bad start. For them, parachute money comes to an end this summer, I understand. So they've got financial issues off the pitch. They're another team that's potentially got calamity clown owners. So it could be a long way back for them if they don't manage to get into the playoffs this time around.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You've gone for a 2-2 in this game. I think the West Brom's been slightly better recently. They've been another team that have been really inconsistent. Yeah. Same as Swansea as well. They've been inconsistent. I think a lot of people thought Swansea were going to do a lot better this season as well, and they haven't. Anyway, let's take it off screen, and let's now say who our bankers are going to be. I think, Ollie, I'll let you do yours first if you like.
Ooh, now you see, what I'm going to say for mine is I'm not going to include Burnley United. They're not Championship teams. So I'm not going to consider them for my banker. I'm also not going to go against any of the relegated teams because I don't think that's fair. either, which leaves me with quite a small chunk of games to actually be able to pick from. But because I have gone so strong on them stealing a playoff pace, because I've said that they are the team who are going to really storm forward on Monday, I have to pick them as my banker because I've picked them to steal 5th place. I'm going for Sunderland to be my banker.
My God, away from home on the last day of the season. That is a bold move when you are 8 points behind.
You've got to go big if you're going to try and catch up, Nick. I've got no space left now to be playing it safe, to be looking at me little quick wins. I've got to go big. I've got to try and get a really nice points boost. And this is the game that's going to do it for me.
Well, I was going to go for Luton 1-0, to be honest. But I think that's a bit dirty. I think that's a bit dirty. So I'm not going to go that. I'm going to go something different. And I'm going to go for Norwich. Going because I think every time I've gone for Norwich, they haven't won the game. Every time I've banked Norwich, they've lost. So it's a bit of fun, isn't it? I've gone for Norwich. They should really win this game, but I can see Blackpool pulling something out of the bag. I really can, because Norwich, every time you expect them to win, they somehow fail. So I'm going for Norwich. Let's see what happens. It's all just a bit of fun. I was going to ask you a question before we go, Ollie. Is this one of the most boring championships of a long time? Because everything's sorted out other than the playoffs. So the top 2 sorted, the bottom 3 sorted, and that doesn't happen that much at the bottom 3 being done before the last game of the season. So, yeah, has it been boring?
It's a weird one because it's been the kind of season where anybody can beat anybody. And all season you've seen ridiculous results and you've thought, oh, God, there's like 5 or 6 teams in this playoff race. There's Luton and Middlesbrough coming for the automatic promotion spots. Anybody could get into the playoffs. But you're right, by the end of the season, really boring. Like, what's actually going to happen on Monday? Very, very little. And it's such a shame to see that happen before the end of the season. The one that I always come back to is the absolutely fantastic one. I think it was during COVID, when last game of the season, you'd got teams in the relegation zone playing the teams in 5th and 6th in the playoffs, and they were swapping places constantly all the way through the night. Now, that one was fantastic, and that's the kind of thing you want to see. So, yeah, I think Monday, boring, really, unfortunately. Yeah. Going out with a little bit of a whimper, the championship this year.
Yeah, definitely. And the top 2 sorted in League One as well, which is a little bit boring. Not sure about the bottom 3.
Not boring. Not boring.
A lot of things have, yeah, a lot of things
it weren't boring at all, Nick.
No.
Yeah, there is still a fun relegation battle in League One. Anybody who's watching that, obviously all the games are going to be on Sky, I believe, so you can watch. Think it's League One at 12:30, Championship at 3, League Two at 5:30, but I could have got those in the wrong order. But League One's got a really fun relegation battle. They've got, I think, Morecambe never been relegated, or currently in the relegation zone, but you've got Cambridge and MK Dons around them, and basically those 3 teams are in a shootout. Whoever wins, Cambridge play Forest Green, bottom of the league, so they've got a chance of getting out of it and probably look the most likely to stay up, despite being 22nd, I think, as it stands. So yeah, that's going to be fun. I think they've actually got quite an exciting, at least relegation battle at the end.
Yeah, do you know what? Teams like Forest Green that have already gone down, like way bottom, somehow pull things out of the bag as well, which is what makes football really, really fun. Anyway, I think we should leave it there, mate. It's been fantastic. This is no, it's not our last prediction. We said earlier on that we were going to do the playoffs, but I'd love to see us go neck and neck. I'd love to see you get a couple of 3-pointers and see where it all happens. So, yeah, very, very excited. By the way, I did realise that Hal's jumped in really, really late on. Where he is, he should be like the time where he is now. The time should be 9:47, and I know Hal really, really well, and I know he'll have his slippers on, he'll have his cup of cocoa, he'll have his pipe, and he'll be ready to tuck himself in bed, or his missus tuck him in bed anyway. So I'm really happy that Hal's managed to join us before we go. Anyway, let's leave it there, mate. Thank you so much for being here. As always, Ollie, it's been a privilege to do this all season. Hopefully we'll get another one out again. But yeah, let's see what happens. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next time.